So, my thoughts. Like, these things keep circling up, and I think maybe I'm not going to go into it. I've been doing a lot of these these past couple of days. So, if you really, really want to know what I'm talking about, you can go back and look at them. But basically, I've been getting very, very kind of paranoid and neurotic. And I have all this whirling energy and these thoughts that just thoughts, memories, judgments about myself. And they are just fucking coming up and doing this and doing that. And they're getting them to calm down slightly. But really, since Florida, but I mean the beginning of Florida, not the end. Right, smart idea to like start talking to you and then put a cough drop in my mouth. So anyway, see, there's just too many things, too many brain activities that are just keep going, and I'm gonna calm down. This is a good thing though. I mean, what I'm realizing is like, I want to get on and live my life, right? I want to get out of the place that I'm in, physically, emotionally, mentally, financially, in every possible way. Out. But I think this stuff is coming up, like Michael Singer says, like, what comes up is that's what you work on, right? You're always working on something. What do you work on? You work on, like, whatever. You'll know because it's coming up. And this is coming up, and it keeps coming up and keeps coming up, and it's just like whirling and coming up and going around, and it's like at a frenzied pace. Right? Or at least it was for the past several days. Like, over the weekend till now. Affecting, as far as I'm concerned, in my brain, affecting relationships, and that doesn't matter because I don't know whether or not that's true. That thought, I don't know if it was true. So why give it my energy, right? Why give it power if I don't even know if it's true? And honestly, a lot of the stuff that I do think is true, I shouldn't have put this in my mouth before I started this. A lot of the stuff I do think is true, I find out later that I find anything about, I find out later I'm wrong, right? So I think the reason this is coming up, I mean, it's the dizzying. It's when it's getting into its pace, it's literally, it's disorienting. It's and it makes me a little dizzy, to be honest with you. It's like, oh shit, like this stuff is just coming at you. But I think the reason it's getting frenzied and the reason it's all bubbling up and coming up is because it's ready to be healed. And these pop-up emotions, these pop-up neuroses that just come up willy-nilly like fucking whack-a-mole. Only I don't get to whack them. They whack me. I think that they're coming up, and they're coming up so strong. Like, I had this trigger, right? And it's triggering, and the trigger was the weekend. Sorry. The trigger was this weekend. And then, you know, just the things that are fallout from the weekend, right? And as they keep coming up, and my mind just tries to deal with them. My heart, the feelings in my heart, like it's just like, how do I describe it? It's here. Let's start with location. It's here. And here. And it's my shoulders. It's even like here on my shoulders, right? And it's the back of my neck. It's everything here. And I can feel the energy of it almost lifting me up, not in the sense of like getting lifted up, in the sense of like something's grabbing me by the head and dragging me along. Two completely different things. But I think the reason this is coming up so furiously is because it's now ready to be healed. Like all of these things. Because I do this, right? It's not, these things are not, these emotions, these thoughts, these feelings, this bubble, like, boop, come up, and I have those physical and vocal reactions to them that range all over, from like a quiet, spiteful whisper to myself to like a almost scream and a jump onto the floor and getting into like child's pose, like holding. I know it's crazy, but like over my head. They vary, but I have been really. They have just been all over the place, and honestly, that started in like. I mean, it started at the beginning of the weekend, right? Like I went to the weekend a little stressed out because of the whole client not paying me thing, and like if the client didn't pay me, I wasn't gonna have money for the hotel room, which that worked out. I did have the money, but I lost my debit card. So I had all of that tension already, sort of as like kindling, right? Like it's just this, like that, already ready to go. It's like a spring. That's what it was. It was like a wound spring underneath, just to let like wing the rest of it go, like a bing boing, like it just wing like out. It just comes out, and it's been going everywhere. My energy's been going everywhere. And I really do believe that the coming together of the stances, like the emotions that underlaid it, the mental state that it put me in, the reactions and the behaviors that followed from that, to the point where like it's hard because you can't objectively judge how you behaved, because you don't remember it from an outside point of view, you remember it from the inside point of view, and that can either be way overblown from what you think what it actually was, or it can be way underplayed. We don't know. I don't know. I should carry you guys around with me and just film everything I do, just to see how nuts was I in that moment. Like how fucking crazy did I come off? I just wish I could have calmed down. But again, these things are just coming up, right? So I know I keep saying this, but I do intend to make a point that then I keep getting distracted from it. I want to move on from this place in my life, emotionally, mentally, physically, financially, the whole deal. I'm in this waiting pattern. And in this pattern, it's not even a pattern though, it's because it's a cocoon. It's a cocoon. Because things on the outside aren't changing. But things on the inside are changing. Like my little leg is turning into this leg is turning into a thing that makes you fly, a wing, right? And then this thing over here is turning into that. But nothing on the outside is changing. You don't see it yet. I don't see it yet. But in order for not that it's kind of a worn out metaphor though, right? In order for the butterfly to break out of the cocoon, the necessary changes have to happen inside the cocoon. And we have to work on them, aka I have to work on them. And the stuff that was there needs to be transmuted into the stuff that will carry me with strength into the next part of my life, rather than getting out of from under here, moving on and still having this, right? This is something I can clear up now, and that it will help me move forward quicker in the future, right? Because let's be honest, if I were of sound mind, I would have been out of here 2 years ago. You know what I mean? But it's a matter of changing the stuff inside, right? It's changing thought patterns and behavior patterns and gaining perspective and learning coping skills. And this is something I realized really, really recently. Who was I talking to? It couldn't have been. It was someone who was it really that recent? I was talking to some sort of mental health professional. And I think that was over the weekend. And she was really cool. I liked them. And I was talking about these things that I'm doing, and she's like, oh, coping skills. And I'm like, I don't need no stinking coping skills. I got coping skills. And it's like, wait, no, that's exactly what I'm learning. It's hard to admit that you're that far back. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know how to cope. And that's what I'm learning to do. But you know what? Judging how the age I'm at, where I'm learning these things, all of that is not useful. At all. It only sets me back. And the thing that I can do, this is something that's bothering me, is like, I'm here, I'm so far behind. I'm so far behind in so many different ways. And I certainly judge myself for that, and the kind of person that I am, incapable of being a functioning adult human being. But also, in the eyes of people who I want to be my peers, people who I want to be equal with, I don't feel equal. I mean, whether or not, let's be honest, right? I hate that I say that all the time, but the truth is that it's not really their opinion that matters. It's my opinion of myself. And yeah, blah, 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 we all know that, la, 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 duh, but it really does feel like even kind people are going to be looking at me like, the best I get is poor thing. that's really the best reaction I feel like I can get from people who are where I would prefer to be, in the sense of like advancement in life. The best I can get is like, aw, let me help you, which is sweet and nice, but like also like, ugh, the fact that I need that, the fact that that's, I just want to be on the other side of this, but you know what, that's not useful. Not useful. So what is useful is thinking about the caterpillar and the chrysalis and the things that are happening within the chrysalis to create a creature that is beautiful and capable of flying and doing all the things it needs to do. That can't happen unless these things change when you're in this, when I'm in this space, right? So I can make more, that helps me make more peace with where I am and the fact that I'm not out of here yet. Because I think about like, okay, so yeah, if I weren't here, if I had my own place and I was doing well financially and all this other shit, if this stuff is still going on in my head, I'm not going to be happy. Either way, it's going to be shit. You know, I mean, and as a side note, I don't think that this stuff can be going on in my head and for me to reach the point I want to reach. I don't think this shit allows me to move forward. So, twofold reason for getting rid of the shit. One, it doesn't allow me to move forward. It keeps me stuck. And two, if I don't get through it, if I don't heal it before I get out of here, I'm just gonna feel it wherever I go. This doesn't stay here. It goes with me wherever I go, and that was proven to me by this past week. Now, wasn't it? It doesn't fucking matter where I am or what I'm doing. If this shit is going on in my head, it affects everything. So I'm grateful that these things are coming up, and I know that like I'm doing these like this spate of videos, right? Like this, like honestly, it's been every few hours at this point, right? But I can feel it evolving, and I can feel my understanding of it. I keep jumping outside of it, looking in on it, and judging it from the point of view that I assume someone more successful would judge it. What I need to do is come from a place of compassion for myself and understanding, and recognize that it doesn't matter who's been through what. People have different ways of coping. People have different ways of brain functions, right? So it doesn't matter that one person had trauma and skyrocketed. I mean, it does, but and the other person had trauma and they fell apart and blew up their lives. It is equally valid. See, this is something I have to convince myself of. It is equally valid to start from this place of darkness and dysfunction and claw your way up out of it. That's just as much of I want to say that's as much of an accomplishment, but it doesn't feel like it is, right? It doesn't feel like it is. I would like to say that to make myself feel better. But what what is the truth is there are only so many things that I personally am emotionally capable of doing. And that repertoire is growing bigger every day. Cough drop. And this obsession I have with a particular person thinking well of me, I keep jumping to what I think their point of view must be, even though I clearly have no fucking clue at all what their opinion could possibly be. I mean, I have my opinion of what my opinion would be, but back to Caterpillar. It's not a matter of looking at other people. It's really looking at other people and comparing myself to them. It's not useful, right? And it hurts the progression. Like, if I want to get out of here, I have to be focused on the things that I can do. Be focused on the things that I can change. Okay. So earlier I was watching Encanto. Like, a part of it. I was eating my immunity soup and watching some Encanto. And you know, I cry at everything. And that's one of the things I like about Encanto is that, like, I cry a lot at it. Like, there's a release and a relief for me, that I can just cry and release the stuff. And one of the things that Michael Singer talks about, as far as emotions are concerned, is, like, you know, our heart plays the symphony of our life. Our heart plays high notes, our heart plays low notes, and it is not for us to say this one should be happening and that shouldn't be happening, you know. And that when it's not us, we enjoy the full range. Like, we go to see a tragedy like Romeo and Juliet, this is his example, and it's done really well, or Encanto. You know what I mean? Like, so tragedy though, because Encanto's not a tragedy. So like Romeo and Juliet, and it tugs on your heartstrings, and it's just like, oh my God, I just wept and wept and wept, and that is something we enjoyed, right? There was a relief there. But when the circumstances have to do with our own life, we're not so keen on it. But one of the things I enjoy about watching a movie that makes me cry, a familiar movie that makes me cry, so I don't have to really pay attention to it, so that when I start crying, I can just cry. I do enjoy the feeling. It's a relief, right? It's a release. But I do enjoy that feeling. I mean, enjoy, you know what I mean? In that, this is part of my experience of being human, right? Because we are. I mean, I'm not going to go into it now, but we are just energy that is able to experience this physical plane because of our senses, because we're attached somehow to these bodies with the senses that we have and how we can perceive the physical world. But other than that, we're just fucking energy. Everything is light. It's insane. It's insane what reality actually is. It's beautiful, and it is my goal and what is necessary for me to evolve spiritually, right? The point of my day is to let go of my blockages and evolving spiritually. The point of my day was to let go of my blockages and to evolve spiritually. That's the entire point of every day, right? So that's what I'm looking at right now. It's what is coming up, and it's not just a slow evolution like human evolution. Well, I mean, I don't know how exactly evolution went through fits and starts, maybe, something changed in the environment and boing, it's, things evolved differently. Maybe that's what's happening now. All I know is that shit's coming up and I have to deal with it, because if I don't, I won't, and it will never get dealt with, and I will continue to go through it no matter where I am in life, and it'll probably keep me here. So I am really grateful for all this crazy neurotic crappy shit that has been going through my brain and in my body and in my actions and in my judgments and in my thoughts and in my remembrances and memories, they're called, I think, and in just everything. It's everything. It's like all this energy, guys. It's fucking all this energy is all over me. It's all up and all up. It's all over. It's all over. It's all over me. It's just like, whoa. So I think the good thing is, the good thing is that this stuff is all up for healing. And that's the only time that we can heal from things, right? Is when this stuff comes up. Because that's when we can deal with it. Because when it's not up, we can't deal with it. It has to be happening for us to be able to cope with it, right? So that's what I'm going to go do right now. I'm going to go to bed, but I'm also going to go to bed meditating and doing a meditation that brings me into my body, because that seems to be one of the issues. Robin tells me is that my energy flying everywhere is the problem. Is I need to bring it back to me. I need my energy to be home. And she used the word home, which is interesting, because ever since I was very young, I constantly, like, when I'm feeling like upset, I'll say in my head, or I'll even say out loud, like, I want to go home. And most of the time I will be home, right? And I never really understood what that meant, but I just knew I meant it from the depths of my being. I want to go home, but I don't know what home was, if I was already home, right? I think this is what I'm talking about when I say that. I think it's bringing my energy together in the place where it's supposed to be and dwelling with it, being calm with it, being at peace with it. So I'm going to allow these things to just like all over, right? Just allow them to do what they do. Let go of them, release, relax, and not focus on them, right? Because when I focus on them, I get caught up. And you focus on them, you give them your energy, your focus, your consciousness is energy, right? And it's power. And what you focus on is what gets bigger. And if I'm focusing on these thoughts and everything else that goes with them, then I'm giving them so much more power. Whereas if I would just have them and be like, okay, you know what I mean? And just relax my shoulders, relax my stomach, relax my bum, relax everything, and then bring myself back into my body and recognize that it's just about being aware of the thoughts, being aware of the feelings, and then leaning away from them, right? So I'm grateful that this stuff is coming up, even though it's uncomfortable and makes me dizzy, honestly, like when it gets going, like fucking popcorn, but not delicious. Not delicious like popcorn. See, like when just one pops just up and I recognize it. I don't even have to name it. I know what it is. It's in my solar plexus. Like the tightening is in my solar plexus. And I'm just going to relax and release it and go be in my body. So that's the plan for this evening, guys, as I fall asleep. I'm grateful these things keep coming up, despite the discomfort that I feel when they do. because this allows me to deal with them so that I will not have discomfort with them ever again. I mean, or at least these particular things, right? And when things that are similar crop up in the future, I will know how to deal with them. And each time I will deal with them more quickly. And each time it's just like, okay. And, you know, in the end, it's just like, woo, right? It's going to be so much better. Woo, so much better than blah. So I'm going to work for the woo and relax about the blah. And I'm going to be grateful for the blah, though, because if it weren't for the blah, I couldn't get to the woo. So I'm grateful for that, and I'm grateful for you. And I am going to remind you that even when the shit hits the fan and your feelings are all over the place and you're like, ah, what am I going to do? That's awesome, because that's when you work with it. That's when you get to heal. You can't heal these things if they're not up. So you can be grateful for when these things come up, even if at first you get washed away with them and carried away and whatever. Bit by bit you come back and you realize you do your evolving at the pace at which it happens, and then every single time after that it happens more quickly because you recognize it, or I recognize it. I'll speak for myself. Anyway, that's what I'm going to say, which means that I am going to remind you for the 50th time today that you can always choose to have a grateful day. Right? It's nighttime. It's nighttime right now, so you can always choose. There you go. You can always, really? Over there. All right, you can always choose to have a grateful night.